Let's talk Maverick. So just recently I was test driving a Maverick on a closed course. Absolutely loved it. And I'm here to do a Q&A, questions and answers on the Maverick. Now, just as a side note, this is part 2. So important to take note. This is part 2 of the previous video that came out just yesterday. So if you're not following on a daily basis, of course, that's all right. It's the video right before this in that case on the list. And you can find that more easily by liking and subscribing. So welcome to Q&A on the 2022 Ford Maverick. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. So I'm your host. And just to give a quick summarization of the last video, we talked about the whole question of no hybrid, and just to quickly revise, there is hybrid. Hybrids are getting builds. I've got my hybrid build that was given out for the first week of November. It's an XLT luxury pack hybrid. So really excited about that. We talked about miles per gallon, and in the video I didn't have time to convert to miles per gallon, so I said 5.7 liters in the city. Well, that's for the hybrid, and that makes for 41 miles per gallon. That's in the city, and 7.1 liters per 100 kilometers. That's on the hybrid, and that's on highway. Well, that makes for 33 miles per gallon. I hope that really helps. And we also covered 2-liter turbo miles per gallon for the all-wheel drive, and it worked out to 22 miles per gallon in the city and 35 miles per gallon on the highway. And in the video I covered why in real life you're gonna get pretty much that, maybe a mile per gallon or two lower or higher depending on how you drive, but those numbers are very attainable. Now, moving right along, we also talked about steering. Absolutely fantastic steering, from the electronic power assisted steering. The ratios between the wheels and the steering adapt to your speed. So really good steering, felt good, comfortable, sharp, and not, overly sharp when you're going quickly. Suspension, just loved it. So that's what we talked about in the last video. Now, in this video, we're going to be covering, the different drive modes. We're also going to be, of course, getting to answering a lot of the questions, pretty much all the questions, I believe, that have popped up on the channel. If you've been following along, we'll also be talking about, adaptive cruise control, some important things to take in mind that come from the Lariat luxury package versus a standard Lariat. We'll also be talking about XL, how there's no cruise, does this make sense and whatnot. And the interior, of course, XL versus XLT, and also comparing that to the Lariat. Which interior is the best? Is the interior comfortable? How are the dimensions? So we'll cover that all in today's video. We'll also be talking about intelligent access and push button. Do you really need all sorts of equipment? And we will be covering and finishing up our comparison with the Hyundai Santa Cruz. So, let's just jump right into it, but right before we put the pedal to the metal, I just want to remind everyone, please like and subscribe. You're not going to want to miss out. Coming up, I'm going to be covering the future of Ford, and really the future of Ford boils down to plug-ins, hybrids, and fully electric vehicles. And I'm going to be test driving a plug-in Escape. So I've been waiting for that model for a really long time, and that's the future of Ford, and that's the future of the Ford Maverick. And I believe plug-in hybrid is even the future of the Bronco. So whether you're here for Bronco content or Maverick content, that's going to be a good video you're going to want to catch, because that's what's coming to Ford within the next 3 to 10 years to a lot of models such as the Maverick and the Bronco. Now, let's put the pedal to the metal, jump right in, and get right back into part 2 of, Q&A on the Maverick. Let's move right along. Let's put the pedal to the metal and finish this list. The Q&A must go on. Drive modes. There's questions about what the drive modes are. Well, they're eco, and that means economic. So your transmission, you could say, and motor are less aggressive. So your gear shifts occur earlier on the RPM band. Everything's made to save gas, meaning it's less exciting to drive. Sport mode is the opposite. Sport mode is going to want the RPMs to go higher, so you're more often in your peak RPM range. A good example of this would be, you take a Honda S2000, peak RPM band is somewhere around 7,000-8,000 RPM. Well, if it had a sport mode, the vehicle would always want to do its best to stay in its peak RPM range. So eco mode, switching gears at low RPM, so not nearly as much, not nearly as much as go to fun. It's not a barrel of laughs. It's the opposite of a barrel of laughs. It's all about saving you a barrel of gasoline. Sport mode is a barrel of laughs. And on the 2-liter EcoBoost, that motor is a barrel of laughs. So much fun. You step on it and my reaction was, whoa, it was good. It was fun. I love that 2-liter turbo and I have a lot of faith in it. Now, we also have slippery mode. That's self-explanatory. Won't talk more about it. And you have tow haul. And reminder, tow haul, towing, you want to tow 4,000 pounds. There's no, and if you don't want to tow 4,000 pounds and you just want to hitch, no, it's not going to make it so that your Maverick doesn't get built. The no hitch was in reference only to no hitch when it comes to 4K. The 4K package is the 53Q. The memo said no 53Q, and it was all about the front wheel drive. And we already all knew that, but it made a lot of people get really upset, talk about canceling their Maverick. So I'm sure a lot of people called up their dealer. Your salesman was, as busy as salespeople can be, probably didn't know what was going on. So that's, possibly even another point of frustration. So unfortunately, I'd say if you're gonna bring out news, make sure you know what it's about. Don't deliberately mislead people for views. I think that's really important. I may not have a very popular channel, but I think if you're on YouTube, it should be about trying to help people. But unfortunately, I find what's really popular on YouTube aren't the videos that are trying to help people. You see someone spinning in a circle in a dress and, it's 3.3 million views. I don't understand that. I thought that's what TikTok was for. I thought YouTube was about information and knowledge and having a community of knowledge. Well, I hope this channel continues to be about a community of knowledge, that in the comments section we're there to help each other out, not tear each other down. And that comes, also comes, with the whole troll thing. We don't need people on the channel just trolling the Bronco or saying, for example, the Bronco is, and you see some videos coming out being like, oh, the Bronco is the worst disaster since the Ford Edsel. And then the main reason seems to be that two things: that there's no engine cover. I like seeing all the mechanics behind it. For the very rare time I actually want to look at my engine. My neighbor is an engineer, and when I showed him the engine, I didn't say anything. I opened up the engine, he's like, oh, cool, you can see everything. That's way better than your Mustang that just hit everything with that plastic cover. So you have to realize, you can't over-essentialize everything just to get views, because some people will actually not buy the product that so many people have worked so hard and put so much effort into to bring out to market, and then you just trash it because you personally need a plastic cover on the motor. Well, shut your mouth and go buy a plastic cover. If that's important to you because you never actually drive, you don't plan on driving your Bronco very often, it's going to be hidden away in a garage with the top open and you want to see a nice top, well, modify it the way you like it. That's not, something to completely trash something over. And now in regards to Broncos taking a long time to get to clients, yeah, that's been an issue, but these days there have been a lot of products that have taken quite a bit of time to come to market. You could ask anyone where their Cybertruck is, and I'm sure they'll just say, "Oh, well, I'm waiting for it, and it'll get here when it'll get here, and when it gets here, it'll be done right." Which brings me to a point. I really respect that the Webasto factory got retooled. It wasn't a bad design on the top. It just came down to, it looks like, needing more plastic, and that makes sense because when you see membrane or the middle section of something coming through the hard section, the hard plastic, if it has the snake skin, I had suspected from the very beginning, from that first photo, I said, ooh, they didn't put enough plastic on that spot. So it's been retooled. Ford's working to resolve that, and if there ever was any issues with supply and demand in regards to the hybrid, or if there will be, doesn't mean there's going to be no hybrids, just means they're going to be a little later. But moving right along, how do you get adaptive cruise control? very simply, get a Lariat with the Lux package. That's where you're gonna get adaptive cruise control. You're not getting it in Copilot 360, and you're also not getting regular cruise control on the XL. So that was a question that actually popped up from, let's see who here. It was an Apple talk, something or another. So it was Apple Tech Tips or something or another that was asking about that. And unfortunately, you know, this brings me to a really important point. If you have a question, yeah, you can definitely ask your dealer, but really you're asking your individual sales rep. Please don't have your entire purchasing experience, you know, ruined and cancel a vehicle. If you think you'll love that vehicle, it's not worth canceling the vehicle because one individual sales rep answered you incorrectly. In an ideal world, anyone in any situation that doesn't know the answer to something would just say, hey, I'm not sure, I'll verify that. Or at least say, hey, I am not sure, I have no idea, I don't even know where to look for the answer. Or, hey, here's the order guide, I've printed it off for you. So I want to encourage everyone, when you have a question, if you do refer to the Ford Maverick order guide, you're gonna get the black and white, concrete answer. You know, you could even call that, you know, that's the Mavericks, it's the truck Bible. It's the Bible for the Maverick. It's, you know, it's like the book of Genesis. It says where everything came from, why things are the way they are. So go to the order guide, because straight up in the order guide, I think it's page 1, it says, you know, or page 2, XLT cruise control. So you see the XLT, you need an XLT trim or higher to have cruise control. Now let's just switch over and look at that order guide. So yeah, on page 1, it just goes through and shows you everything that an XL comes with in regards to standard equipment, which is pretty cool. It's the first standard hybrid, you know, full hybrid pickup. So that's amazing, but it's gonna tell you it's got, you know, great things like, for example, the electronic power assist steering, which makes for a great drive experience. Now, reviewers that review on a racetrack will often complain about electronic power assist steering because they say, well, you know, you feel the road a little less. Yeah, but it's comfortable. And who races their vehicle? Even Porsche 911s, I believe, were one of the first to go over to electronic power assist steering, and there was complaints about it at first. But you know what? In the end, it does make for a better drive. And you know, I'm hoping that it comes with the automatic lights the way my Bronco has. It has automatic high beams. I absolutely love that. But for any little questions like that, like does it, you know, if you're shopping either a Maverick XL or XLT and you're wondering, you know, am I gonna have heated seats, which you need actually the XLT luxury package for. But if you have questions, does it have automatic high beams? Just look and go through the order guide. So that's your key to success. You know, if you ask your salesman and then you completely blame Ford for how your salesman responded to you and you cancel your Maverick, well, that's just unfortunate because you're probably missing out on what I think is going to be absolutely an amazing product. Now let's just carry right along the interior. There's a lot of questions on how the interior on the XL was versus the XLT. Well, one thing that's pretty interesting is all models have the blue and gray doors. And on the brown Activix, which I absolutely love Activix, it's unbelievably durable. It stains less than leather. It's gonna last longer than leather, less likely to crack, and it feels great. It feels like a, you know, a pretty high quality leather is the feel. For the most part, it's recycled plastic, so I absolutely love that. We got too much plastic on the planet. We gotta start using up that stuff, not just, you know, selling it to be recycled and then, you know, it secretly gets dumped in the ocean. So all models have blue doors and they look great, and I think they look amazing against the brown seats of the Lariat and the XL. That's a point I was wrong about. When I did my builds, I originally did a build a while back on the XL, and I said that I preferred the XL interior and I thought it'd make quite a big difference. The Maverick XL interior is awesome. Some people love the steelies on the outside. I've got mixed feelings. I haven't formed an opinion yet, but initially it kind of makes me, you know, makes me frown. But the interior was mind-blowing. I couldn't believe that an XL was that good. Basically, the fabric is like the XLT fabric, it's just black. So a huge, huge bargain. And talking about bargains, while the XL doesn't have cruise control, it has a lot of pretty awesome gear on it that we have to, we have to appreciate. One, most companies charge a huge premium if you want to go hybrid, so that's really cool. I was also asked the floors, if they were plastic or not, plastic or vinyl. Well, on the XL, the floor covering is carpet. But people also asked, does the interior back seat on the XL have, the storage bins? Well, it does on the doors. Now, of course, if you want an electric driver's seat, you're gonna have to go to the XLT with the Luxe package. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for an electric seat. And if you want the headrest that's adjustable, you're gonna have to go to Lariat. And actually, to get the intelligent access and push button, you're also gonna have to go to Lariat. Standard equipment on it, but the headrest is actually on the Lariat Luxe package. So in the Bronco, some of my little qualms about it, it's my fault. I took a model that maybe wasn't quite equipped. I took Badlands with, nothing other than a 2.7 liter and a hitch. And because I'd been shopping a manual 2.3 liter, that was already a pretty big price jump for me. Now, of course, I took the Badlands. Of course, it has those, year-round tires, and I originally thought I was gonna lease, but, tax return on my Mustang, I had to go with a purchase. I didn't want to lose $7,000 in tax savings by doing a trade-in. But yeah, the XL on the Maverick does have the auto LED high beams, and it also has the automatic lights, as well as pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, and it has the forward collision warning and dynamic brake support, as well as a rear view camera. So and most base models don't have a touchscreen. But if you're gonna want to go with something that's more comfortable, you probably are gonna want to go, and more tech, you're gonna want to go with the Lariat. Because one of the things on my Bronco that I'm noticing is once you've lived with keyless entry and push button, it is a big adjustment to get used to fishing into your pocket, pulling out the key, unlocking the door, getting in the vehicle, and then putting the key in and turning over the engine. I know I'm being small. I'm being small and I'm being silly, but I think a lot of people, if you do currently have that on your vehicle, you're probably going to want to go with the Maverick, because it is an adjustment. I've had the Bronco for a week, for 8 days now, and I still keep going up to that door and shaking it and then wondering, why isn't it opening? Why is it, what's wrong? And they go, oh yeah, that's right, I don't have intelligent access. So those were most of the things that I want to talk about. I did say that we do a cruise, Santa Cruz compo, a comparison, a sort of a quick head-to-head, and I guess we could do that. Mostly we've already done it. So the Santa Cruz costs about 10,000 Canadian more. And to compare it with the Maverick, you almost have to jump into, basically have to compare it to a Lariat Maverick with 2-liter turbo all-wheel drive. And if so, you're looking at, the Ford, the Maverick has 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, and an 8-speed automatic. Now, interesting enough, the Santa Cruz also has an 8-speed automatic, but it does have more power. It has, I think it was 311 pound-feet of torque and about 288, sorry, I got the exact numbers right here, 281 horsepower. But interestingly enough, the 0 to 60 on the Maverick is 6.9 seconds, and the 0 to 60 on the Santa Cruz is 7 seconds. So even though the Santa Cruz has more power, it's ever so slightly slower than the Maverick with a 2-liter turbo engine. The reason for that is weight. The Maverick is pretty light. The Maverick's sitting at about 3,700 pounds. So with a 2-liter turbo front wheel drive, it'd be at 3,550 pounds. And with a hybrid, I believe that's where it's going to weigh 3,750 pounds, because my notes that I took down basically indicate that that's the weight range. So I'm thinking with a 2-liter turbo and all-wheel drive, that's going to be about a 3,650 to 3,700 pound machine, whereas the Santa Cruz weighs 4,123 pounds. And since it's inappropriate to make fun of people because of their weight, and it'd be pretty easy to make fun of my vehicle because of the weight, because my Bronco Badlands 4-door weighs 5,117 pounds. Well, I better keep my mouth shut and not make fun of the extra weight, but I can say that that's why the Ford Maverick is a little bit faster, even though it has less power. Well, I'm just gonna quickly check to see if there's any other questions that were, like I said, I don't have the original list from the original video. That's all been blocked out, but I'm gonna go through old Maverick videos to see if there are some absolute must answer questions. Either way, hopefully throughout this, mostly live experience, I'll have been able to answer any things that I did miss. So I'm gonna check that out and get right back to you. Okay, so some of the questions that have popped up, Joe Trompador gives a really good example of, what can be frustrating in this process. He mentioned that went to my dealer yesterday and they said my 6-2221 Maverick XL hybrid order may not start building until the end of year. We'll keep you guys informed. They really didn't have a clue. So that's unfortunate. It might be a dealer that he might have just asked his sales rep, and his sales rep might have no idea how many his dealer is getting each month. It's on a list. The general manager or the person in charge of orders knows. And ideally, it's tough. Sometimes you just got to take a little extra time and go check, or say, hey, I'm taking a note. I can't right now. It's unbelievably busy, but I will get back to you. And sometimes you just got to stay past closing to get that important info out. No matter what type of job you're doing, I think what's important to keep in mind is we want professionals doing these jobs. I wouldn't want a surgeon working on me because we want to be fair and give everyone a chance. Well, I don't want a surgeon who only has a high school degree. It's not because I'm a mean person, but I also don't want my sales rep to be serving me if they're not passionate about it. And part of being passionate about it and having good people also comes down to pay. So dealers, there has been talk about, Ford and even other manufacturers going to the Tesla model, where you kind of have like a store and you might have 1 or 2 people there to answer you, but they're not sales reps. So generally the big corporation will be responsible for their pay. Might not, if I'm thinking back to when televisions used to be sold by, for the most part, televisions used to only be sold by sales rep. And I always noticed a difference, and now I've noticed a huge difference between when I used to shop a television in the early 2000s, early 2000s. I'd go and I'd get a sales rep who was passionate about televisions, who would tell me all the, what's great about this model versus that model. What are your needs? What type of, are you a sports watcher? Are you a video game player? Well, here's the TV for you. And now I feel when you pay someone, minimum wage or next to almost minimum wage, at least the job still exists, but the information I'm getting isn't up to par and it's not what it used to be. And I don't know if going to, these stores is the best option, but I do know that people should definitely be getting a better answer than that. And let's see what other types of questions we have right here. In my opinion, the hybrid is a great sales pitch, but only with the front wheel drive. Well, I'd say, Matt Hopkins, that the Maverick is also great as an all-wheel drive 2-liter turbo, because it's still a really inexpensive truck. And if you get that on the XLT, for example, it's still gonna come in a ways under the Santa Cruz. And this is a vehicle filling a white space. It's filling an area where if you want an inexpensive truck, you'd look at, I'll go buy a Ridgeline, I'll go buy a Colorado, I'll go buy a Ranger, and all of those are expensive, comparatively speaking. So this is a really nice option. So I'd say even as an all-wheel drive 2-liter EcoBoost, no matter what trim level that interests you, it is a great deal. And some people automatically assume that, this thing's made in Mexico, so the only reason the price is good is because it's gonna be poorly built, badly built, not be good. From what I can tell from driving it, absolutely not the case. And I've mentioned this in a previous video, but the factory that's going to be assembling, keyword is assembling, not building, but assembling these Mavericks, has been at it since 1986, and they've made some sick models. The Ford Escort GT. I have never seen a vehicle in my life get more beaten on than my what turned one day into a mechanic friend. And some people think that if you buy a mechanic's car, you're getting like the best car. I'd say from the mechanics I know, they use their cars pretty hard. I don't know if I'd buy a mechanic's car. I certainly wouldn't be confident doing so. Let's continue and look at other questions we might have. Oh, really important, I had one comment left that, you know, you're going to be waiting 8 years for your Maverick because they're only building 1,200 a month. I want to remind everyone, assembly at full capacity, it looks like the factory can do 300,000 per year. That has to be split with the Bronco Sport. What I can say is that likely there'll be about 12 to 15, 16,000 Mavericks that can be built per month. So we're in business. You're not going to be waiting, you know, you're not going to be waiting 3 years for your Bronco, and you're for your Maverick, and you're certainly not going to be waiting, you know, 8 years. And assuming that, you know, some people will say in the comment section, look what happened with the Bronco. Well, forget the Maverick, it'll be even worse. No, just because something happened with one model, which was actually showcases how well Ford responded, dishing out their money to retool at a factory that doesn't belong to them, at a company that doesn't belong to them. And the design was good. You know, they didn't, you know, I think it went really well. They talked about mid-October that they'd start having good tops being produced, and it turned out that it was very early September. Now let's see what other type of questions we've got here before I sign off. Some people talking about my winch situation on the Bronco. Well, that's not relevant to this channel or to this show. Mind you, I did, being the cheap guy that I am, I was looking at 10,000 pound straps and doing it by hand, or just attaching myself to a buddy and just reserving myself to only off-road when I've got a buddy that can pull me off, because, you know, hooks and big straps and getting pulled out is definitely a solution. Some people saying they'd like the Maverick to be smaller. Yeah, that's actually Michael W. That's a great point. You point out that you'd like to have the Maverick be smaller, which is awesome because you know what's going on. A lot of people have been saying that the Maverick is, you know, too small, and you know, why did we need a small truck? No, it's not too small. It's the size about of an early 2000s Ranger, or like a much lower to the ground Maverick. Much lower to the ground Sport Track, and it reminds me of, and it's not, you know, it's spacious inside, and it's actually a medium-sized truck if we look at this historically, you could say, because in the 90s, you know, an F-150 was a lot smaller than it is now. And this reminds me a lot more actually of, you know, let's say a 1998 four-door F-150, but with a smaller box. And people did ask me when I got in the vehicle if, you know, I had to duck, if I hit my head. Well, you can see from the photos that the roof was coming up to about my shoulder height, but getting in was easy. I was in and out, and I never made any effort to look at what I was doing. It seemed very natural. I was very excited to get that test drive. I'm not emotional very often, and I don't have a big range of emotions, but I do get, you know, excited to get info, to learn something new. That's when my emotions come out. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna go test drive this and I'm gonna learn all about it. And I just popped right in. And I've done that with other vehicles before, and I've smacked my head right in the middle around the ear area, which means when I'm excited, the rare times that I am excited to take notes, learn, and get to be in a situation where I can analyze something, that's when I can tend to be emotional and make mistakes and be, you know, somewhat illogical for a moment. And yeah, I just popped right into the vehicle, and I actually do remember getting in, and I was like, oh, hey, I got in and I didn't even think about it. I didn't hit my head this time. So it seems, I think the dimensions on the Maverick are perfect. Now, what else? Yeah, we got someone asking if we've got the warranty on the 2-liter. Well, whether it's the hybrid or the 2-liter, everything that you could say, you know, lives in oil, swims in oil, motor, transmission, the powertrain, that's warranted for 5 years or 100,000 kilometers, whichever may come first. Now, I'd love a little help by if someone could convert that into miles at the bottom. I believe, obviously 5 years remains 5 years, but I believe it's 36,000 miles. Now, inside the vehicle, all the electronics, that's going to be covered for 3 years or 60,000 kilometers. And sorry, the 60,000 kilometers, that's where we must have our 36,000 miles. And for the 100,000 kilometers, well, we must be talking about 65,000 miles. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, 65,000 miles because, you know, 100 kilometers an hour, 65 miles per hour. So 65,000 miles. That's what you're talking about in regards to powertrain versus electronics. And the battery, well, the battery, don't worry about it. It's guaranteed 8 years or 160,000 kilometers, which is going to be around 100,000 miles. But I really would appreciate if someone would convert that for me. So that's warranty talk. Okay, well, actually, some really cool news here. Jerry McGonigal said that his Maverick has a strange twist. He had an XL with a 2-liter EcoBoost and spray-in bed liner. Ordered up in July. He hadn't gotten a build date yet. Thought it was the spray-in bed liner, but figured, hey, let's go big or go home, you know, first or last. I like that attitude. And on September 1st, contacted the dealer to eliminate the spray-in bed liner, but also changed from an XL to XLT and only added a full-sized spare and trailer hitch, and again the 2-liter engine. The change was made at 8:15 a.m. on September 1st, and on September 2nd at 9:59 a.m. got an email from Ford that his Maverick was got a build date and it would be built the week of October 18th. The dealer will be installing the spray-in, so that's awesome. That was a bit of advice that I've given in previous videos saying, you know, get your dealer to do any accessories, you know, spray-in bed liner, that type of thing. They can do it themselves because at the factory with all the commodity issues going on, you know, whoever's supplying them with, you know, the spray-in material, you know, whatever you want to call it, brand, but they're shooting the box. If they're missing that, well, they can't build your Maverick. So all about supply and demand. So he followed some of those steps and that worked out for him. So that's really cool. Okay, so that wraps it up for today's, this week's live session. That's all I've got in me. I've got to get to painting the garage and making the garage into a great place to park my Bronco and also do videos from. Really appreciate that if you've stuck through all the way to the end. Thank you so much. And if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do so. You know, thank you, Maverick and Bronco community, for, you know, sticking with me through all of this. You have all been really great. The comments have gotten a lot more positive from when I first started out, because when I first started out, yeah, I mostly only got insults in the comments section. And hey, in all fairness, my videos were pretty bad at first, and they're, you know, I'm working hard to get them better with time, updating my studio, you know, buying tables and waiting for better mics and whatnot. But thank you for sticking with me. If you have questions, please add them to the comment section. They'll probably make up next week's video or the next Q&A video. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned. And, you know, until next time, I wish you all more cars and more power. And of course, I do hope you get to put the pedal to the metal.